the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll call you to order. Angie will take roll call.
Bergstrom, Bush,
Here.
Dunn,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Eisner,
Here.
Johnston,
Here.
Skelton.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, and Mr. Harris is joining remotely. Just to remind everyone, according to current board policy, board members can join a meeting remotely and participate fully as long as we're not in a confidential closed session. So that's assuming that everyone that can hear and see us can also hear and see him. So if any of you online or whatever can't hear Mr. Harris speak or vote, then please speak up and we'll try to remedy the situation before we move on with the meeting. Okay. We'll start with recognitions. Oh, sorry. I need to read the mission statement. School district's mission statement, grounded by our history as one of the oldest publicly supported schools in Wisconsin, Mineral Point School District is the heart of a small community that educates and inspires our students for a bright future in a big world. Okay, thank you.
So first up tonight, the announcement to the school board of our valedictorian salutatorians. Our valedictorian for the class of 2024 is Derek Hottenstein. And we had 3 people then that came in as the salutatorians: Reagan Schutte, Malia Asherman, and Juliana Kuhl. Mr. Austin, would you care to say anything about these 4 students?
All fantastic kids. I mean, that's the best thing about working here. We have fantastic kids. They all work really hard. That competition was really strong up there on top of that, because there's another handful of kids that are just right behind them that could have been up there too. But great kids. Each one of them fantastic, works really hard at what they do in order to be very successful at the next level. I believe they are all at FBLA state.
I think one's working, one's
Okay. Couple over there.
and 2 are.
Okay, I said they all got
They
something
all-
going on.
They
So
all responded.
Okay.
So congratulations to these 4 outstanding senior students. Next up, Herb Cole. The Herb Cole Foundation gives out scholarships, fellowships, and leadership and recipients. This year, Mineral Point was fortunate to have 2 staff members recognized by the Herb Cole Foundation. Matter of fact, they are the only 2 staff members recognized in CESA 3 this year. We have them both: Erica Brunson, our high school guidance counselor, middle school, high school guidance counselor, and Mrs. Kristen Staver, middle school English, prom, homecoming, media, and car wash. You name it, she's doing it here at school. So just outstanding recognition. Ladies, if you'd like to say anything as recipients.
Grateful. I've taught it. This is my 5th high school in my 30+ years of teaching, and it's the best high school. I'm so glad this is where I get to end my career, and I would never stop doing all of the things I do just because I love these kids in this community. It's just wonderful.
Well, I was like, I should have went. No, I was really grateful. I've been a finalist before, and so I was really excited to earn it here with the students that we have.
The beauty is they each receive a cash prize, and then the school receives a cash prize in their honor. Our tradition has been to give it back to them, to allow them to use it how they see fit at the school. So they direct those additional funds. So it's a win for them to be out, recognized as outstanding educators, and it's a win for the district in a contribution as well that helps to benefit our own students.
I'm going to media, so you know. It's all awesome. I'm going back into whatever we need for the media program.
So congratulations, ladies, well deserved. As usual, or I shouldn't say as usual, but has become a pretty good pattern for us here in our school district. We have outstanding students and outstanding athletes, and sometimes those paths cross. We've recognized student athletes multiple times throughout the courses of the years. We have academic all-state boys and girls basketball teams. Coach Burrison is here. Coach, would you like to just say a little bit about, a couple of the awards that your team has received here?
I'm real proud of our guys, not only on the court, but in the classroom. I think we have 8 players recognized for their individual, academic excellence, and then statewide for Division IV as a team, we placed in second. I mean, I think we've been second now 3 times, I think, and third 1 time. So that's all the Division IV teams in the state, which is probably about 120 teams or thereabouts. Like I said, real proud of what they've done, both academically and on the court.
So they had a team GPA of 3.81. It placed them second in the state for the division. And then, as Coach said, there's a couple other recognitions. Landon Thousand was elite academic all-state.
There are only 15 players chosen on the guys side and 15 on the girls side for elite academic all-state. And that's across all divisions. So 15 total for the guys statewide and 15 total for the girls. We've had some people be all-state before. We've had some be elite academic all-state, but Landon is the first to accomplish both.
Wow.
So there's a good start.
Very cool.
Then here's the 8 individual students off the boys basketball team that qualified for the WBCA all academic all-state recognition. And then we also had a handful of girls that qualified for basically that same thing, the WBC, Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association Academic All-State. I believe that's 12 girls there off the varsity basketball team. So when we talk about our student athletes being busy, they're involved in a lot of things and they're getting it done in the classroom. So a lot to be very proud of our student athletes with an emphasis on student first. So congratulations to all the students. And all-state boys basketball. Timing is pretty good. Coach, you want to address this as well?
Yeah, I mean, Landon was Associated Press honorable mention, and that encompasses all divisions again. So to get any kind of recognition by the Associated Press is quite the accomplishment. And then by the Coaches Association, they break it down by division. And in that, Landon was first team and Eli was honorable mention. And I think we're one of just probably 2 or 3 teams that had multiple players recognized by the Coaches Association for all state. So that's a pretty elite group as well.
Then you had small tournament honors.
Yeah, quite the tournament run, obviously. We got a couple of guys here tonight, Alex and Drew, who played, major roles in those tournament games, especially at the state tournament. By the way, like everything else tonight, we got baseball going on, and we got track, and then we got FBLA state. So, but Alex and Drew are here to represent the team. And Drew had one of the biggest plays of the tournament in that last shot against Kenosha St. Joe's to pull out the victory. And you'll recall on Thursday night, Alex had one of the biggest plays of the night. His steal cut the lead from 4-2 and gave us an opportunity for Landon to hit the game winner. So, but yeah, all tournament honors, and then Landon and Jackson and Eli as well. But we've said all along, and we continue to say, it took all 15 guys to make this happen. I mean, different guys, during games, but those guys in practice were just as vital, whether they played 0 minutes in games or whether they played 32 minutes in games that took all 15. And I think the tournament was a great example of that, of how many different guys contributed in different ways. So I'm real proud of all of them.
Well, congratulations to our student athletes being recognized by the state and the Coaches Association off our school boys basketball team. Congratulations. Boys, would you like to say anything? You know? I agree. And then, of course, in case you weren't aware, there were a couple of no doubt easy sit back in your seat and relax basketball games that took place at the Kohl Center. So the first boys state championship in basketball school history. So yeah, congratulations, the boys basketball team, and the excitement that came with it. Well, like you said, Coach, you know, one night Landon has, you know, is your leading scorer, but again, that wasn't just the most important part of those games.
I think everybody willing to accept the role, no matter what that role was. You know, in the last game, our leading scorer came off the bench, Jackson, that game. But everybody kind of accepted their role as the year went on. And again, for some it was more of a practice role. But I think everybody played a vital role in this thing. And I think the other thing about both of those games, you know, when the going gets tough, you either pull together or pull apart, right? And these guys really pulled together. And they called themselves brothers because it really felt like they were brothers and they were that connected. And, you know, I can't underestimate how important chemistry is in this whole thing and how team cohesiveness is. And it's one of the closest groups we had. They didn't care who got the credit. They just wanted to, you know, they were willing to share the ball and willing to do whatever it took to make the team be successful. They really did put team first. And that's why they were able to accomplish some pretty incredible goals this year.
Congratulations. That takes us back to the regular.
Thanks for taking the time to come, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got the consent agenda. That includes meeting minutes, bills payable, and a credit card statement of activity. So I'll take a motion to approve them all together as one consent agenda or individually if you prefer.
I'll make a motion to approve all together.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Just for people listening, we've got the regular meeting from March 11th. We had an operations committee April 1st, policy committee April 1st, and finance committee April 3rd. So thanks, Mitch, for getting those minutes in. Appreciate it. Okay.
Bush,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Eisner,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Gunn.
Yes. Okay, we'll move to communications. We'll start with board communications received. Will, you want to start first with any board communications?
I didn't have anything.
Okay, thank you.
I also did not have anything this month.
Christy?
I just had some personal reach outs in support of the summer program. But nothing through the school board email stuff.
Just the email that you forwarded to us about the summer kids program. And just another discussion about the current kids club and how well that's going. And just a lot of excitement the last month around the district that people wanted to talk about that we've covered already. So I did want to, my own personal comment, and I think we alluded to it, that there's only 2 in the entire CISA, but I think because we have one every year, that some people may believe that the Herb Cole every school gets one. And it seems like that we did not have one for multiple years when I started, and it seems like we've had one for the last 4 or 5 years, and not the same teacher, obviously. So I think that is an incredible testament to the quality of staff we have here. And there's just the other piece along those lines is to have the state champion, and it's happened before with some of our elite teams also be at a 3.8, I think speaks to in challenging courses, I think speaks to the quality of students we have here, and also again to the staff we have here pushing them as well. So just kudos to everybody in the district. I think those two awards, those two things kind of just sum up what's going on here. And it's really exciting.
For sure. I mean, I think that's whenever you have students that are thriving in multiple levels and multiple different activities, including academics, that's really something the community should be proud of,
And one more quick plug. I was reading before I came, the drama club received a donation. So the play is this weekend.
Yes,
and students are now free and adult tickets are half price. So if you were considering going, I just found out my ticket was half price. So quick plug for that.
Yeah.
It's 50% off.
While supplies last.
Yeah.
I am done now.
No, just
No more
another cool
plugs.
example of, community members stepping up to support the school in a way that they feel inspired to. So that's a really cool thing. I did not get any additional emails. The one thing I wanted to add was Member Skelding wanted me to relay how impressed he was with how this Summer Kids program is kind of evolving in terms of collaborating with concerned parents, administration, board members in a real open engagement type of process. And he thought it was great that that Kristen, you've been able to be like a champion for that as a board member and also liaison to those parents. So he wanted me to relay that in this part of the meeting. So that's all I have, I think. We'll go to citizen communications. Did anyone sign up tonight?
Lorena Swenson.
Lorena Swenson, yes. Come on up.
We won't make you sit at the table.
Okay, I'm a parent of a second grader who attends club currently. I also have a 4 kid student who is out of district this year due to childcare constraints. So first and foremost, I wanted to say thank you to the board for taking the concerns about Kids Club in the first place and for making that happen this year, which meant that one of my students was able to stay in the district. And as long as it continues, means that my other will be able to come back where I would like him to go to school. And then also as a shameless plug for please say yes to the Summer Kids program, because that would really help my family and lots of others.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone online, if you'd like to speak and take your 3 minutes, you can use the raise hand icon and we'll call on you. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you. All right. Next, we have items for information and discussion. First is review of our school board priorities. Mitch, do you want to give us sorry, are you pulling something up?
Trying.
Okay. Just a reminder for everyone listening, our 3 priorities are recruitment, retention of staff, and providing a safe and social environment. Oh, we got video, nice. For all staff and students, and working on improving school board governance. All right, so we were developing a video to help recruit staff, new teachers to come here. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So one of the board priorities is around recruitment and retention. You've done some things for retention. Hopefully there'll be some more things tonight around retention. One of the directives was given about trying to put some kind of a recruitment video out. I went to the Mineral Point Media group and had some students who accepted the challenge. They've started to put together a video. I've just asked for a small snippet. There'll be I believe some drone footage in this first snippet, at least there was earlier today. They hadn't quite completed it due to some excessive gale force winds that brought the drone down in kind of the last shots that they were trying to capture. So they are putting the finishing touches on, but I just asked them to kind of give me a little snippet that I could share with you tonight. So that's what I will be sharing here, so that you kind of get an idea. This will be going on our district webpage when it's finalized.
My first year here in the Mineral Point School District, and I'm one of the two high school math teachers. Yeah, would agree with that. Our administration is incredibly supportive. We have a great team. We have a lot of fun together. So if considering, it is a great place to be.
So they have multiple staff members based on different experiences, so that some of these interviews, some of the questions that follow up are part of it. Brand new teachers, teachers more experienced than Ms. Notham. So they're working on finalizing it, and that's what will be on our website once it's completed. But second year media students, I was approached with the idea of purchasing a drone since I had a project for them to complete. So it was kind of some arm twisting. I'm like, all right, let's get it. And within a day, maybe two tops, one of the media students had the drone under control, flying it. It was just an unfortunate gust of wind that took it into an object down at the elementary school. We have a replacement now, and they'll be able to finish it, and we'll get the final product pushed out onto the website.
Great.
So
That's awesome.
around our recruitment video.
Good work.
Thank you, media students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, they get the credit.
And well done getting the drone to boot. Smart.
Any new updates on social emotional safety or social sources of strength, or any activities we've done lately?
I forgot the word this month. I just read it.
Somebody asked me that every day, and I'm not gonna lie either. I had other things on my mind, so.
The one thing that we do have scheduled, we, in, I don't know, October or something, we had a district-wide one, and then we talked about, to the elementary staff, about wanting to add more coaches to the training through our AODA grant. And we had an overwhelming number of teachers interested in wanting to take that. So we've been able to arrange in-person training for 15 of our elementary staff this summer. And so that was really exciting to get. So we'll be using the rest of our AODA grant, along with some of our Kids Get Ahead money that the state had given us prior to that, to bring that in-person training here. So we'll have at least one member of every grade level team, and some teams with 2 or even 3 teachers that will have been trained in sources work. Then we just applied for the second year of the grant a couple weeks ago. So, and our goal with that one was really a focus on trying to draw in a community sources night So continuing with the work of our peer leaders and our adults, but also then hoping to expand it into a community event in the evening. And I think, I don't know, Christy, if you've had experience with a community one yet. Did Dodgeville have one a couple years ago, maybe?
I don't remember.
Okay. So. But it wasn't the sources.
It wasn't
And I
no.
know, yeah, so always looking, continuing to grow and build with our student body here, and then continuing to look at ways that we can continue to expand it out, so.
Have our students been asked to be keynote speakers anywhere?
They have, and may. Mental Health Summit, is that what it's called? So we were asked if we would bring a panel of our high school peer leaders to speak at the Mental Health Summit that will be held in Fenimore, like the last week of school, so the end of May. So Miss Rob and Miss Brunson will take some students over for that. Yeah, all good work continuing.
Thank you. School board governance. I think the main thing is that we're hoping to finalize our annual calendar for our board meetings as far as standing agenda items to help us stay more on task and be more efficient that way. So that's to come later in the meeting. Good. All right, updating the results of the school board election is next. Mr. Wainwright.
Yes, results of the election. All incumbents, Dunn, Skelding, and Bergstrom all retain their seats on the school board. There will be a follow-up board meeting on the 22nd of April to swear in the new members, returning members. They'll still take the oath of office, or still take the school board oath on that Monday, fourth Monday of the month.
22nd.
Second.
Will we have other agenda items that evening, or will that just be a swearing in?
At this point in time, that's the only item. If something were to come up, I would try to get that out as quickly as possible so that people would know, is this going to be a 5-minute meeting or is it going to be a 50-minute meeting? I'll try to let people know as soon as I possibly can, but right now that's the only agenda item.
And just for people listening, we have to have a special meeting before a certain date in order to take the oath, right? By end of April, or is there a certain date in April? Well, that's the last day. Okay.
Are we holding an open forum for the self-assessment compliance report prior to that April meeting? You told me to put it on my calendar.
We can.
Okay. So we have to do the state is requiring every district in the state to submit a pupil non-disclosure or non-discrimination self-assessment report. And we have to have it open to get community input and others' input to show you what we learned through this process, and it's due at the end of May. So we were hoping to present it in an open forum at this meeting in April, or before or after the meeting in April, so that then we can take any questions or feedback and I can add them into the report before we get it submitted. So
When she says we put this together,
She puts it together.
Angie did a wonderful job.
it's not done yet, but it will be by the time we have that meeting.
I think the rest of us maybe contributed in one admin meeting for about 25 minutes, but Angie has done all of the legwork.
Mitch did sit in on a virtual meeting, so I didn't have to go by myself, so.
Okay.
And what day was that? I'm sorry, Dr. Dunn.
The 22nd.
Okay.
So we would have this prior to the board meeting to swear people in. We encourage everybody to be here. We will present the findings, how are we doing? Where are we? What kind of numbers do we have as far as males, females representing athletics and advanced placement courses and all of those kinds of things? We can report that out at that meeting. There are questions, concerns, as Angie said, that can be taken into consideration, rolled into our report, and then submitted to Madison after that. Basically, I shouldn't say submitted to Madison. We notify them that we have completed the process. It's more of, we hold on to this report and someone, in case someone were to say, I'd like to see this report. I'd like to see what this district has gone through as far as non-discrimination. So we would just be sharing out the information that was obtained within the district.
Budget comparison year over year.
In your board package, you have our standing in budget year. In this point, March of 23, we had expended about 65.6% of our budget. In this current fiscal year, we've expended about 61.14, so it's about 61.2%. So again, kind of trailing expenditures. Our budget's a little bigger, so you would anticipate that with a bigger budget, if we're spending the same dollars, that percentage would be just a little bit behind. But again, as noted, almost every month, we're very close in our expenditures. And, it just kind of shows we're trying to maintain as fiscally conservative, responsible approach as we possibly can.
Good. Next, we've got committee reports. Probably I'll have you want to present under action? We talk
I
about
think that-
contracts.
Yeah,
Does that sound good?
makes sense. Yeah.
I would maybe suggest that there might be a couple of people online that are interested in the Summer Kids Club.
Yeah.
So maybe have the operations,
Yes.
that discussion, and then you could take action and move that action item up to number 1.
Okay. That sounds good. So that leaves policy committee. Basically, those of you who weren't there, just so you're just aware, we had a WASB audit of all our policies, and the policy committee, and we basically got a report back on like urgent policies that we need to either make new or update. And then there's like some semi-urgent ones, and then there's some low priority ones. So we hit the 6 high priority issues and reviewed recommended policies by WASB and discussed them with Mitch, and we made recommendations for those policies. And we'll have a first reading probably in May. Is that your intent?
Yes.
Okay.
And some of the policies come with multiple samples. You could get a very shortened, 1-page policy that requires you then to have maybe multiple rules and extensions, or you get a much more broad. And that was a lot of the conversation that took place in the policy. Which one would we want to recommend moving forward with to adopt and approve and put into our board policy book?
I guess for people paying attention, I think it's important for the community to know that we've had our board policies audited for gaps and needs for updates, and we're slowly working on that in committee to be as up to date and comprehensive as possible, so that we're following all state laws. Good. Okay. Any questions about that? All right, we'll go into action items. And procedurally, you want to move Kids Club to the top there, Mitch?
I think it makes sense that it's addressed right away.
So would I take a motion to move that to the top of that part of the agenda?
Yes, and it can be a voice vote.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of moving Kids Club to the top of the action item agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mr. Harris, you okay with us doing Kids Club first on the action agenda?
It's fine by me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Member Skelding is the chair of the operations committee. Christy, you've been kind of a champion for this project. If you want to take the lead on it, that would be awesome.
Sure. So the committee discussed the parent surveys that we requested go out in January. The results of that was that about 30 families have indicated a need for summer support, which comes out to about 41 students. Mr. Ingwell and Mr. Wainwright both shared some of their concerns about having the summer program at the school. One was, kids being at the school all summer and not having that kind of excitement at the beginning of the year. Another was there is a lot of work that is done in the building during the summers. So, concerned about the ability to clean the elementary school with the students in the building. We talked about that there was just a very informal message sent out about we know that staffing is a big concern as well. So we kind of sent out like an informal question, one of the parents did, and got 13 responses of people who would be interested in working the summer school program or the summer kids club. So many of the individuals that expressed interest are already working towards a degree in education, have experience working in a summer camp. Or in some capacity in a daycare setting. So we were really kind of pleased by that response and just it being informal and nothing else sent out. We talked about pricing and whether lunch would be provided by the district. So with parent input, there were 3 parents here during the committee meeting, 3 or 4, and they shared a lot of their feedback and input about, what would be a reasonable cost, lunch being provided by the school versus lunch being provided by the parents. The other recommendation that came out of the meeting was that having each child sign up for the Summer Kids Club also be enrolled in the district summer school program. So that would be like the first 3 weeks for 3 hours each day. This provides additional student enrollment in summer school, which provides additional student enrollment for state funding. So to kind of mitigate the concern about not having enough time during the school year to clean, and having kids at least have some kind of a break during the summer out of the school building, we decided that for the recommendation of the summer program that we would close the entire week of the 4th of July and we would end August 16th to give maintenance staff time to clean the areas of the elementary school that would be used during the summer. So I worked on updating our parents' handbook for the Summer Kids Club. I just went through what we had talked about at the committee meeting and looked at what we created for the school year, and updated all of that accordingly.
So everyone should have a copy of that updated handbook.
Where did we land on the lunch? Are students providing their own lunches or?
Yep, so we landed on that families would provide lunch for their children every day, but that we would have some things on hand just in case someone forgot their lunch, which is a normal best practice that daycare centers use.
Very good.
We included a $40 registration fee per child for materials. It would be $35 a day for the first child and then $25 a day for each additional child. And I believe the way that we do it during the school year is that you are paying for your slot just like you would at a childcare center. And that I also provided a registration page that was very similar to the one that we use for the school year about, are you signing up for the whole week? Are you signing up just for certain days?
These kids aren't signing up all week.
Pardon me?
Based on the survey that came back, not all kids are all week.
For the summer program? Correct. Just like they are not all students are all week for during the school year either. We also, Member Bergstrom went through and kind of pulled together a very rough draft of what a day would look like. Which just, we did that. We offered a suggestion for the school year kids program. And it would be up to the discretion of the director and the other teachers during that time to adjust it as they saw fit. The other thing that we talked about was, potential for doing like off-campus things, like maybe they could come to, like they could go to Soldier Field for the day and have a day there if there was something that had to happen at the school, like cleaning wise. We talked about them coming here for a day, just spending time here where parents would pick up and drop off here at the high school. Just different options for activities that are close in town, where we would not be providing transportation, but we would be doing an all-day thing so that parents would pick up or drop off and pick up at that alternate location.
Have we calculated a break even student population? Like what number do we have?
I didn't.
Part of it's going to depend on, we put together a proposal that for a director and some of the other workers at a particular wage, if we can bring those people in at that wage, that break even number is going to be a little bit lower. We don't have that number. I've looked at that number, tried to calculate hours per week. But I can't give you, it has to be
Yeah, I think,
28 kids. I don't know that number.
yeah, I think we talked about having, because of the length of the day, having some teachers having, like 2 staff members start in the morning, end at a certain time, and then have the other 2 staff members finish up the end of the day, because that's a long day.
Yes.
And so that is what they do at childcare centers. They have 2 staff that start in the morning and then 2 different staff that end in the evening. Where all 4 of them are there in the middle of the day when it's most active. But then also taking into consideration that the first 3 weeks, as all of those students would be in the summer school program, that the kids club staff would not need to come in. They might have to do that early morning session if kids have to get dropped off before summer school starts, but that the majority of staff would not need to come in until 11 when summer school ends.
Do we have any of there was initially, when we started the kids club, we had received a grant. Do we have any of those funds left to help boost or help us get the summer program off the ground?
I do not believe that we have any of those grant funds left.
Okay.
And I don't know where we are financially with the current kids club.
I would need to talk with Danielle and Amanda to get that financial information.
It sounds like we're pretty close to breaking even on the kids club for
We
the
should
year.
be, yes, we should be at a break-even spot on that.
Okay. I think if we hired a full-time director, 40 hours a week for 8 weeks, the number that was given to me was 18 an hour. And then if we hired 3 staff full-time at 16 an hour, that would be just over $21,000 for the summer program. And if we had, be 21,160. And if we had 15 kids pay the weekly fee, assuming they're not siblings, but paid the first child the $175 a week. If we had 15 kids pay that for 8 weeks, that'd be $21,000.
And that doesn't even cover the $40 registration fee.
Right.
That doesn't include that.
Right, and it does not. So if just those 15 kids pay the $40, that's an extra $600. So that would cover the staffing. That doesn't include snacks, supplies,
Right.
other things. But if we're estimating 30 kids would join, I think that we would probably shoot for, I think if we had 20 kids at a minimum sign up, then we could probably make this work. That's just throwing some numbers together. I think it's important for us to make sure that we get this as close to budget neutral as possible.
Right.
I think you can also consider it would create, how many students would that create and count for us, Mitch, for summer school, roughly?
Is that a fifth per kid or fifth FTE for summer school? Something like that?
3 weeks of summer school, 4 hours a day,
Probably less than that, huh?
48. 3 weeks, 120, 140.
I feel like Angie might know the answer. She has a look on her face.
Does she?
No, I was just, as you're factoring in costs, like, I know there's at least one proposed student who will need additional support, and for the amount of time that they're recommending, will most likely need 2 staff members with them at all times, and sensory wise cannot tolerate being in the cafeteria space, so he is in a classroom by himself. And I just whole picture of what that looks like for, what kind of classroom, like when his space needs to be cleaned, what kind of classroom can he go to? What does he have access to for his safety? It's not just one staff member.
So he has to be in a completely separate area?
Are we, because we're a public school, but this is not part of our curriculum, are we legally required to provide services to all eligible students?
I would say yes, because it mimics.
It's about after school.
Yeah.
Dodgeville does not.
And are these funds because they're associated then with our legal requirement to do so, are they reimbursable special education expenses?
I don't know about the summer.
And it gets you coming and going.
Yeah.
So we reached out and to the Dodgeville School District, who also has the Kids Club. And I was told that they do not provide one-on-one with IEP students, and that parents are told that up front. But yes, if it's a safety concern, I'm absolutely for. I didn't know that they would have to be in a totally separate space with
Right
2
now.
staff.
Right now it is 1 staff, but for the length of time, it's only an hour currently. During the school day, he has 2 staff members with him. Anything more than a few hours.
It could be two,
You're saying
it could be 2 staff that are split.
2 staffs splitting shifts
I think it would be 2
together?
together. And
That is really
then I
resource
come back to
intensive.
question, how at this point do you say attend in the summer, but he could attend during the school year?
Rough guesstimate, Andy, would be at least 1 full student.
So what I'm hearing from you is you confirm that if for the after school program during the school year, we are obligated to provide special ed services to all students in the program. But have we confirmed that with a summer school program? Given the fact that another school district is not.
They're not doing it after school either.
Okay.
I talked to the school's attorney about our after school program and said, there's no academics, and it was told that because the school is running it, we have to provide that. I mean, I can certainly follow up again about the summer, but say that because they're so similar in nature that similar rules are going to apply.
Okay.
It's just went from being
What would that
pretty
bring
close
us
to
up
budget
to
neutral to
not budget neutral? If we went from 4 to 6 staff, would that student also be attending summer school?
It would be entirely separate, 1-to-1. And I don't know that there is a teacher to provide service instruction for him.
if we have a summer school offering for other students, this student's age, do we not have to?
He attended last year.
So we have to provide that anyway. Like, regardless of what we do with Kids Club, we have to be prepared to provide that. Okay.
That's 3 hours a day for 4 days a week,
Yep.
you know, 3 weeks, 3 hours a day, 4 days a week.
And I believe there were 2 staff for that, a teacher and an assistant.
Well, we need to figure
Darren,
out.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Mitch, when we're talking about this situation, and I know I was the one that asked you to ask the lawyer, so that we made sure we had our bases covered, but in regards to the after school program, but what's the difference between like after school program and let's say a basketball game that's hosted at Mineral Point in terms of what the expectations are of what sort of supervision we would provide to a student with those types of special needs?
We currently are not required to provide any kind of additional supervision, because it's basically, there's nothing that would require the student to attend. It's not a program that's being offered to the student. This is just something that's open to the community in general. So simply because it's not necessarily a program being put on for students that would require that level of supervision, we don't have to do that for a basketball game or a volleyball game or a football game.
But potentially we do.
Youth football game, is that what you're saying?
No, if you said like the high school boys are playing tonight, would we have to provide a one-on-one aid and supervision for a particular student if that's what their IEP required? And the answer would be no, we don't have to do that.
They're participating?
If they're there attending and watching the game.
But if they're participating on a team and need support in order to be safe,
Correct.
that
And-
is our responsibility.
And
to
we
provide
have
that
provided
service.
that and continue to provide
Yes,
that
we
opportunity.
Provide different levels of support at extracurricular school sponsored events.
So the student is going to enroll in summer school and participate.
So we would provide that level of support for them during
How's
summer
that
school.
any different from enrolling in school?
So I think we all agree that we have to provide the 36 hours of support during the summer school hours, right? The question is, can we afford Kids Club if we have to continue to provide a 2-on-1 support model?
For any student, we're not discriminating against any student that might require
Correct.
additional
Correct.
needs.
Right.
In the quick math though, we hadn't accounted for the in
2
an
extra
instance where
staff.
we would have potentially 2 extra staff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we need to figure out, under what conditions can we make this program financially work? And if there's some enrollees that need additional costs, how would we cover those costs? So I think if we don't have those answers, we could, we could move forward with the intent to pursue this program further, assuming these things can get worked out.
So
or we could.
Aaron, just briefly, thanks for answering the question on the basketball, Mitch. To me, I think we should just pass all of the costs along to the parents, who want to utilize this program sort of evenly. So, I realize the floating cost is a little hard for people if we, said, well, the base cost was $35, but then, as our costs go up, we're going to spread them across. And so we might be looking at $50 a day. That's probably not going to generate a lot of interest amongst the parents. But my belief is that this is not a responsibility of the school district. It's not something we've taken on before. And, we're going into a tough budget situation and we can't really we have to be careful about what we take on at this point. So my view is that the cost should be passed on to all the participants evenly. And we just got to figure out what those costs are.
Mitch, during the school year, has the school had to put, have we had to put any money from any of our buckets of funding to the Pointer Kids Club, or has the Pointer Kids Club so far this year been budget neutral?
It has been budget neutral.
Okay.
I special ed pays for our student right now.
For the one-on-one.
Mhm.
And that's including a $15,000 donated grant.
So budget neutral, but if we don't have the grant, we would be not budget neutral. Am I understanding that correct? Like that's
For next school year, for the fall?
We'd have to pull the money from somewhere else.
Right, correct.
How much is of the funding for this is coming from special ed? School year.
For the one student,
Mhm.
I'd have to have Danielle run the numbers.
And that's just for one staff?
Student and staff members.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I guess I would have to double check that it wasn't paid out of that grant, that the student that does, the young man that does after school also does a before school job for us. So I would have to double check with Danielle that all of his costs come out of the grant and aren't split between Pointer Kids Club grant and special ed. But I know that that person is budgeted in our grant. So I'm assuming that we are paying for him.
We just say, and then $16 an hour. I'll just say 3 hours.
Probably closer to 4 hours a week.
4 hours a week or 4 hours a night?
The student usually stays for between an hour and a half, 3 to 4 nights a week.
So I'm just gonna say times 5.
Did this student respond to the survey? And is this all week, all day,
Every day, all afternoon.
all afternoon? Meaning they would only come in the afternoon?
I'm gonna say, based on, just say we've been here 120 days, and I know it's been a little bit more than that, that's $9,600.
Okay.
So that's based on 5 hours a week, $16 an hour, and 120 days. Sorry.
Let me clarify my question. Did this student respond to the summer program survey? And so you're saying only from like noon to 5 days a week?
I believe it was a start time of about 1 o'clock until close to 4:30 or 5 every day. So it'd be about 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, yes.
okay. So we had said that total staffing costs would be about $22,000. And that then our staff could potentially increase by a third, 2 additional, that was for 4 staff, right? Now we're talking 2 staff, which would have put us up just over like 28.5. But now I'm hearing that while we might need 2 staff, those staff could potentially be part-time, right? Like we wouldn't need them for 8 hours a day. We would need, okay, so maybe not so undoable, because I think we could still potentially break even with the 30, in that 30 student range.
Well, would it be helpful and would it be counterproductive to actually have an enrollment period? See what kids actually sign up with the proposed pricing and see what kind of extra staffing we would need to provide, and then be able to make a fairly quick assessment of whether we can go through it or not, or do we feel like the survey was sufficient to kind of give us a general idea? I mean, I don't want to, we certainly would have to script it in terms of saying, we're hoping to have this program. If we have enough signups, please sign up if you're interested for this fee, and then just see where we're at. Or should we just use the survey that we put out?
Can I add to that? I think the reason that that is a good idea is because for the kids club for the school year, our survey gave us
100 or something.
a lot of numbers, and who actually signed up was not near that.
Fraction.
Probably a
Right.
half.
Yeah.
Third.
So I think that is a good idea. And I think that we need to have a very short enrollment window. Parents need to know 2 months ago what they're doing with their kids this summer.
Right.
So if we put this off anymore, I would not want that enrollment window to be more than a week. And I know that that's asking a lot for the parents to make that, but if we can get a better idea of the number of students and the number of hours that we would need staff, this school year, we started out with 3 staff and now we're down to 2. Right? Or, at any time. So I think that if we had a better idea of what the actual numbers would look like, and knowing this new information with the 2 staff, for 20 hours a week, that gives us a little better picture of what this is going to look like financially. I do want to keep this budget neutral. I don't want this to, I don't want this to affect our district budget in any way. And while Will is correct, it is not the responsibility of the school. And I understand the concern about kids being in the school building all year round. These kids have to go somewhere. And the amount of community request and engagement that has gone through this process, I think that this is a perfect example of the district responding to community needs. And I want to make an informed decision with as much information that is accurate as we possibly can.
What about Fund 80?
Yeah. No? Just say no?
What was that?
Easy was on the phone.
Oh.
You on the phone?
Different answer.
And I was like, okay, so
Okay.
it is a possibility, some Fund 80 expenses. My question is, in the survey of people interested, was there any kind of the district is looking at this and this would be the rate of compensation? Was there any information shared with these people, or am I going to get you want me to do what for how much? No, thank you. I'm not interested.
Oh, as far as the staffing? No, it was just, hey, if we did this, who would be interested in working? So no, there was no discussion of compensation at all. And I think that the price point that we put on our daily and weekly in the handbook, as a suggestion, that's not that's not written in stone either.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not sure we necessarily need a motion here. Unless we want to tentatively approve this handbook with.
I mean, I think we need to tentatively approve or disapprove the program.
The program,
It's
yeah.
April.
Right.
The parents.
Just, do we charge more? This is a community demand. These people want us to do this.
Right.
Why aren't we charging more for it?
I think fiscally, with the additional student, when you add that in, we're going to base staff on attendance.
Mhm.
So each additional staff member is going to be required by X number of students.
Right.
At the hourly rates we're talking about, that we only have to have 4 students to cover up a staff member. So if we get 20, who says we need 6 staff members?
Right.
And
Right.
they're still creating a certain level of FTE through the summer school program. Fiscally, I think it will make sense because we're not going and hiring 6 people tomorrow and then having 4 people show up to the kids club. I just didn't know about the requirements of, I know there's probably requirements for summer school and who has to be with students that need certain IEP requirements. I don't know if it's, obviously it's different. There just has to be somebody. I'm assuming that's the same with summer school. And my only concern would be, and it's an Angie question, is, and not, I'm going to support this either way, is what happens if we can't find that person? Which does not, that's just my concern.
That wouldn't break the whole program, would it, if we couldn't find staffing for one special?
And that would be if they require a certain degree of which I don't think has been required in the after school.
Does that break we are legally required to provide services. If we can't find somebody to provide services, do we have to cancel the program?
Can you make the enrollment contingent on the ability to find the staff?
Enrollment for a particular student who needs a particular type of service?
Correct.
No,
you can't.
it's just like sending a child. If I have a student with severe needs and I move into town,
right,
you're my school district.
So
you
it's
provide
that
the
same
services that
mandate.
my child needs.
Okay. So could we contract with CISA if we had to?
I don't know that they would have anybody in the summer for us to be able to do that.
And I'm not certain, it doesn't sound like, have we hired a specific individual for the after school program that has specific qualifications?
No.
So I don't think then that we would need to have specific qualifications, which then opens.
Right.
We would need to probably for summer
It'd be a
school,
bigger
but that is
pool.
not the kids
Right, 'cause
club.
we're not providing instruction.
Yeah, that's
Right,
not
so
the
it
kids
would-
club
Correct.
issue. So
So
that was
there's
my
another
only
piece we find
concern.
somebody is what you're saying.
Yes, it sounds like there's a pool of people that said they would be willing to help. I've been super, just outsider looking in, super impressed with the whole process from this going from, I don't think that can ever happen. I just think it's shown me even more that, we have a community that's willing to assist us if we need it in different endeavors that we're looking at. And it's just impressed me how this has all come together, to echo Justin's thoughts earlier of how this started as a suggestion that, received a lot of pushback, and now we are to the point of, voting on it. I think it's just impressive by all the people involved. I applaud all the community members who got involved, and I encourage community members to continue to, voice their concerns, but also not just be idea people, and also
For sure.
consider some solutions as well. So I just applaud that effort.
What if we voted on this as like a first draft handbook? And, Mitch, I would need some timeline feedback from you in terms of, would we do a short enrollment period to get hard numbers and then make a tentative budget for the year in terms of staffing and potential revenue? And then would that come back to operations committee before the May regular meeting? And when would we want to do a final vote on the handbook to say this is 100% full go? Would we want to do it before the May regular meeting? That seems like a tight window, but I want to get your feedback on
I
next
think,
steps here.
well, to Christie's point earlier, I think parents are hoping to hear an answer tonight,
Right.
because it will be June 4th before we know it. And they're going to want to have a plan in place of some sort moving forward. I think if you can approve the handbook language as, presented with a potential review of the handbook, but I think the ultimate decision comes down to, is this a program that you want to run this coming summer? That I think that vote needs to happen tonight.
Mhm.
Then we push out that survey, then we reach out to the 13 individuals that expressed an interest in, wanting to be a part of this, be employed in some capacity in this. We can reach out to them and here's what we're looking at offering. Is this something that, are you still interested if this is the dollar amount? But I think the board needs to make the decision tonight on whether or not they want to support this program for this coming summer.
You would consider that sufficient verbiage for tonight's meeting?
Yes.
And then you would be able to, then you would feel comfortable from that, putting out an ad for employment?
Yes.
I would like to see us pass this tonight and move forward. The risk, worst case scenario,
Right.
we're several $1,000s, and by several, I'm $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 at most, that has to come out of general fund. And I don't want to minimize that, but the community has asked for this. We have to try. And if we try and it doesn't work, we learn from it, and we either say that's not a lane that we can support, the people have to go somewhere else, or we learn from it and do something different the following year. But we have to try. And this is a great first step. We've got a lot of community input. We've got a plan. Let's run at it. Yeah, I move that we move forward with the Pointer Kids Club according to the handbook presented this evening.
I'll second. Can we make one clarification, in the spirit of transparency? You mentioned Fund 80.
Yeah.
Can we share what that is and what that's for and what the intent and purpose of that funding is?
Mr. Wainwright?
Fund 80 is what's called it's basically called a community service fund. So things that the school district can do in order to support community programs. We use it to help support the police liaison officer in the district. In the past, the FAST program, Family and Schools Together, was another program that Fund 80 money was used so that families that were new to the district, new children here, got them connected to the school, connected to other families within the district so that they could make some positive connections and feel a little bit more welcomed as to, especially those that it's my first child and is this normal? My kid forgets his homework, every day. Is that normal? Or, and so you kind of find some strength and support in some of those, and it provides opportunities for families to get together, the students to get together and then share around that. So those are community type programs that have been paid for through this particular fund in years past.
Thank you. I just wanted that to be clarified so that anybody watching now or later knew that we, if Fund 80 had to be dipped into, that's what that fund is for. I'm done.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions during discussion?
I would like us, like I said, I'm going to support this. There's 3 out of committee. I trust the committee. The numbers make sense. I would like us to continue to maybe look at some of Mo's concerns since she's the boots on the ground, and just see if there's anything there that we can continue to address, since she's kind of, those concerns have probably arise from her being the director of the kids club. We need to give some of those some thought. But other than that,
absolutely,
3 out of committee is good for me.
Okay. Mr. Harris? Sorry.
She cannot. She doesn't have the time available.
Mr. Harris, any comments or questions during discussion?
I'm planning on supporting it, but I see this as a need in the community. I was just rattling off to my wife all the daycares that are closed, in Mineral Point a few days ago. And, just either the pandemic, people moving away or retirements. So clearly it's a need. But again, I just encourage the board to figure out as quickly as possible what the cost of this will be and to try to pass the costs on along evenly to all the parents involved. Because I believe this is something they're willing to pay for. They're not looking for a handout. It's not a question of affordability, it's a question of access. There's no access to childcare. It's not that the childcare is too expensive. That's my only comment.
And thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think we just want to make the cost a fair market value compared to other daycares. And to Angie's point, since it's in such high demand, I think we could potentially charge on the high end of the market, but you don't want it to be totally out of range of what other daycares are charging, obviously.
Right.
Okay.
Eisner,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes. Okay, so just for follow-up steps,
I feel like maybe operations and finance need to get together and have a quick meeting. Would that be sufficient for everyone so that we can iron out after we get a short enrollment period?
yes, so I think if we could post for employment
Mhm.
and start an enrollment period ASAP, and then once the enrollment period closes, then I think some group of people need to look at the demand and what kind of staffing we would tentatively need. So I think look at that in a committee would be good.
I just pulled finance in.
Well, and that's
Do you need to
fine.
be there? Like, if,
I'm more than willing. I just think that there has to be a price on enrollment. Like, I don't think we can do, you want to sign up for this and
Right.
we'll let you know what it's going to cost the first day.
I'll defer to, what Christy and Mr. Wainwright want to do, but I don't think it should be any less than what's currently stated in this handbook.
I
I do
don't think either. Yeah.
struggle with the notion. I hear what Will's saying about it being an access issue, but if I'm just imagining if the cost becomes $50 a day, I do think that becomes cost prohibitive, or parents are gonna say seek other choices. So I do
Right.
think we do need to be aware of the market, and it feels like 35 is probably about in that sweet spot. I wouldn't want to see us go considerably higher than that.
To start, right,
Yep.
just like we did in the fall, like we started with some price points and
Yeah, I thought this was a great starting point. I think it's affordable for those in need, and we're not pricing anybody out of, because we do want to also, this needs to be seen a little bit as a community service. Not that the taxpayer should pay for it, but we're also not trying to get rich off of it.
Right. And I think if it was subsidized in part by Fund 80, that would be a very small. But yeah, if you guys can work on getting an enrollment out, and then I think if we just review it in ops committee at some point, at whatever timeline Mr. Wainwright thinks is appropriate, and Chair Skelding, then that
Our
would be
biggest
good.
struggle has been getting support staff employees
Right,
for the last couple of years.
right.
So the wage we pay those employees will.
Play a big role. Yeah. Yeah. We got to start reaching out to those 13 interested candidates and really start.
Yep, I gave
hammering that
you,
out.
Rachel sent you that list, correct?
Yes.
There is one that we can take off, but I say we start there.
I don't know that was there contact information on any of that.
I'll
I just
double
remember
check.
names and kind of what they're doing, whether it's
Yeah,
currently
We
a
can do that
teacher
offline.
or in the school of ed or
I
something.
can
but
get that
don't
to you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll move to the second part of the action agenda, which is approval of contracts for the upcoming school year. You want to start with teacher contracts, Mitch?
I thought you wanted Member Bush to kind of report out the finance committee.
Thank you. Let's do that.
So we reviewed the Baird model. We looked at multiple scenarios, current CPI at 4.12, current CPI plus steps, what 5% was plus steps. Just kind of noted what 1% was, reviewed the history a little bit of past payroll matters, past steps, and discussed insurance, and discussed the policy last year that, I shouldn't say policy, the decision we made to offer insurance at the HMO level at 88%. And then the staff was able to purchase the POS by paying the difference. Good discussion on the model. No matter what the number was, the model showed a deficit. I think we certainly realized that referendums on the horizon, but we also kind of identified a couple positives. We passed the operating referendum for $350,000 that was supposed to last 3 years. This will be year 6 or 7 that we have, and based on how money has flowed, the deficit that we're considering spending, the level where fund balance will be is the level we expected it to be 2 years ago when we were anticipating a deficit spend, and a couple of years in a row got some good news. So we're not necessarily, we have essentially, gotten 3 or 4 extra years out of an operating referendum and 2 extra years out of the same amount of money that we thought we were going to spend 2 years ago. So we're being, funded minimally based on inflation. There are a lot of signs of fiscal responsibility there. So we did review our past steps and voted 3-0 to approve the 4.12% CPI, and then we voted on the steps, and that was recommended at 2-1. And then we discussed insurance and keeping it at the 88% of the HMO and allowing the staff to buy up. And that was recommended at 3-0 to maintain that for insurance. You have any other?
I think you summed it up pretty well.
Okay. So we basically, in terms of teacher contracts, we can vote on a motion for CPI, or we can vote on a motion for CPI plus steps, but we could vote on either and a different motion.
We need a motion before we go into much discussion.
I'd like to have a motion and second, and then we can have discussion.
We can.
Aaron, I'll make a motion to approve CPI of 4.12 and include steps as well.
I'll second.
So coming out of committee or during the committee meeting, I openly wrestled with the idea of CPI or CPI plus steps, weighing the budget deficit that we're facing and the fact that we are going to referendum and we're going out to the community and asking them, asking them for additional funding with, with our priorities of retaining teachers, and STEPS is a retention method. And, I did not support the STEPS in the committee meeting. I won't support it tonight, but man, to me, it's not an easy decision. I really feel completely split on it. Like, in my mind, the worst thing I can think of though is if we get to referendum and they say, and then the community as a whole, when I say they, I'm talking about our community as a whole, argues that we haven't been conservative enough. And so I am in support of the 4.1, but not in support of STEPS. So I will not support the motion as it's been laid out this evening.
Any other comments for discussion?
I think that every board meeting, there are recognitions that aren't just sports related, but also academic. I think tonight's recognitions were a perfect example of that. I think that the staff that we have, we want to retain. The staff that we want to recruit here, that costs money. And if we want to keep, our goal of, excellence in education and where we currently are and continue to do that, then we have to pay staff. And I think that, I just think that this is, we talk about referendum and we talk about, all the different places that we look before we before we get to affecting the classrooms. And I think that if we can't retain the staff that we have and we can't recruit staff that we want, that will affect the classrooms. It might not happen within a year, but I think that we'll see the effects of that. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that diminish, because the staff that we have had, in the past years, they worked hard to get to where they are with the students, and I want to pay them for that. And it is an incredibly difficult decision.
Mitch, can you recall offhand how we rank in CESA 3 region in terms of, I guess it would be average salary? Is that how it's measured? Or is it's not starting versus top salary, is it?
Basically, yes, that's how it works out. So it's like, what is your starting salary at for the CESA? And then what is your top end salary at? And the information I had compiled.
Was that a year or two ago?
Yes. We were not at the top end. We were probably number 3 in our CESA.
Out of 31 schools?
Out of 31 schools. And our starting was probably no better than 50%, maybe even a little bit lower than the CESA schools, but somewhere in that area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yes. And that, you're coming off of CPI that was 4.7, and we could afford a 3%. So we gave what we could afford, and it was 8% last year, and we started with 4. We made sure we were okay financially. We moved it to 6. But it's still behind what CPI was given. If it's a 4.12, well, it is 4.12. Excuse me, going next year. If you were to give the CPI over a 3-year span, our staff's salaries would still be lagging what the cost of inflation has been. And we part of that committee meeting discussion was it's about 115 staff members in the district. And STEPS would impact, in essence, the easiest way to say it would be our youngest 29 staff members. We have a very veteran staff. We have a lot of staff members who have topped out. So their pay raises would only be whatever that CPI increase would be or whatever the district could afford. They would not get a step anymore because they don't have a step to take anymore in the salary schedule.
I am surprised I don't have this in my notes, but you recall the dollar amount? It doesn't have to be perfect, but about what steps, if we did steps, was it an additional 63?
That was 58.
58, okay, I apologize for not writing that down. 29 staff members and it approximately 58.
About 58,000, about 2,000 per staff member for a step.
Hey, Mitch, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
How many open enroll students do we get in the district each year on average?
Maybe.
We're sitting on 90 right now. To say how many new ones we get,
No, 90 is the number I want. And how much money do we get per student?
about 9,000 per student. And if they were a high school student, it's about 9,000. If they're elementary or middle, it's about 8.
So I'd just like to make a point of why I'm going to be supporting this tonight. I don't think it's a difficult decision at all. I think that, you know, one of the reasons why our school is really good and why we're attracting 90 students a year into our school district from surrounding school districts is because of the quality of education provided by our teachers and our staff, the condition of the buildings, the athletic programs, all the extracurriculars that we offer, all of which we pay for through payroll, right? So we're attracting those 90 kids in, and that's over $800,000 that the taxpayers are essentially off the hook in our district. So if the quality of our education goes down, we start to lose open enrollees, it's going to cost us $8,000 to $9,000 for every student that we lose. So investing $58,000 to get $800,000 is a pretty decent investment. And that's all I have to say. I think we should just go to a vote.
I just want to say one thing before we vote. I'm definitely mindful that, you know, I don't disagree with anything people have said so far. Teachers are some of our best resources. The reason why we're open, you know, we're net positive open enrollment. We've got these teachers getting great awards. You know, I want to reward any teacher that qualifies for steps for being excellent. All of that. I think saying all that, and it's not really about the number amount. For me, it's about showing restraint heading into a referendum. Okay. We were staring at a deficit 2 years ago with CPI that was about this number, and we didn't support it. We only supported 3% because we were looking at a deficit that was not even the size that we're looking at right now. Yes, we used ESSER monies to give a stipend to kind of even that up for the year, but every teacher knows that wasn't the same, right? Last year, we're looking at another deficit, well, at least we thought we were. Really high CPI, really expensive cost of living raise. We didn't pay it all, right? Now we're looking at an even higher deficit that's very real this time. We're not anticipating that to go away. We're going to be going to taxpayers to ask them to pay for that and plus some so that we don't have to go to referendum for another several years, hopefully. And I think what I'm asking myself is, are we doing what we can to minimize the impact to the taxpayer while preserving our quality education? And I think there are a lot of things that we could do to show more financial restraint that are not on the table right now. We could be voting for no CPI. We could be voting to increase healthcare premiums. We could be not approving summer contracts at their current rate. we could not, we may not, we could be freezing support staff wages. And none of those are on the table right now. And I think because of all these points that have been made, I would support a cost of living increase, the 4% CPI, despite the fact that we're looking at a huge debt and going to referendum, because I believe that strongly in keeping the teachers compensated at a standard of living and at a market value that keeps us towards the top, in our region. But I think we're in a time right now where inflation is really high, CPI is really high, and I think we're trending down to a period where CPI is going to be lower, and it's going to be easier on the budget to pay a cost of living raise in future years, and it's going to be easier to swallow further financial steps with salary increases, like with steps and lanes and those other things that we would love to afford. So I think the time for restraint is now. And I think even passing CPI alone is only showing partial restraint. So CPI with steps, I'm not going to support in this year. So that's what I'm going to vote on. Okay.
Harris.
Yes,
Eisner.
that was, if you want fries with that, but my vote is yes.
Okay.
Eisner.
No.
Johnston.
Yes.
Bush.
Yes.
Dunn.
No. Okay, so it passes. You too. All right. Next is summer contracts.
I shared with you, in your board packets, the staff that have extended summer contracts. Several of them account for additional student enrollments. These contracts are brought before you every year at this time for approval. I'm asking that you support these contracts as presented.
I'll take a motion to approve these summer contracts.
So moved?
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Mitch, I got your email about Mr. Robinson's summer contract.
Yes.
So can you just help me understand what summer hours are instructional and what summer hours are as an FFA advisor?
Like, his hours are instructional. He is going to students' homes, helping them work with their supervised agricultural experience programs, preparing them for things that they're going to compete in. So all of those hours are able to be counted as summer school hours because there's a lot of instruction that's going on. It's almost in essence a one-on-one instructional opportunity that he's providing for our students. They just happen to be FFA students, but it isn't. He's just not continuing to support the FFA program. These are actual educational programs that these students are going through. So those hours can be counted as summer school instructional hours, which then go towards our student count, giving us additional student enrollment.
Has it always been that way?
Correct.
Okay. And so they're just logged as like summer instructional, like enrichment hours, or is it a program that any kid can sign up for the summer, or are they kids that were in the ag class at the end of the school year?
Students choose to be a part of this experience, a part of this program. So if they want to be a part of it, they are, I won't say applying, but they're presenting this is the program I'm going through. There's an application process that these students have to fill out in order to be able to participate. Mr. Austin, you want to add to that?
On their SAEs, their supervised agriculture. So that's what they're working on directly with him.
Right.
And that's part of being the FFA. So like Andy's son Luke has one where he's got several, like he's working on crops and stuff. So they're working on those projects. They're getting guidance so they can build that and they can turn that, apply to the state for those things. The last couple of years, we've had a lot of them approved by the state, very high ranking, which is awesome for our students.
For sure. Okay.
So they are educational and a lot of times career-oriented programs and projects that these students are doing.
Yeah, he goes to their place wherever they're doing their project and
So these are not required within the curriculum. They're extra things that we are offering the students during the summer.
Correct.
And there's no charge to the parents for that?
Correct.
so one of the tenets of an FFA program, a future farmers and agriculturalists, I think is what it stands for now, is in addition to classroom education and leadership and career development, that they can participate in a supervised agriculture experience that gives them like kind of career and life skills that they can carry forward.
And one-to-one with the ag teacher during the summer?
I don't know that part it has to be supervised by the agriculture
Okay.
teacher. So I believe in the past, for example, there's been some pigs in the little tiny shed out back. I think multiple people have had pigs, and so it wasn't necessarily 1-to-1 per student, but
Okay.
he oversaw the pig.
A lot of your bigger ones are going to happen during the summer.
I think there might be,
And he puts it all on a calendar and you know, he's got it all laid out there when he's gonna be at your place.
Yeah.
It's all, you know,
Yeah.
it's never a surprise or, you know, the provinces.
The implication in the description was that the reimbursement covers the entire additive contract or a large portion of it. Do you know those numbers?
well, if we get one full-time FTE out of it, it's covered.
Okay.
You're talking two different things here now. You're talking the additive contract, which is the FFA advisor that goes through the school year for us, and his extended summer contract.
Yes, that's where I'm confused on. You know, it's like what duties are as an FFA advisor and what duties are as a ag teacher, summer school teacher
So
kind of thing.
Not all kids have to do the SAE. You choose to do that.
Right.
That's part of their class curriculum though.
So it is part of the
They
curriculum.
get high school credit for it? I mean, I know it's FFA credit.
No, they don't get high school credit for it.
It does show up on.
He's an FFA advisor during the school year. So when they talk about the FFA auction, the fundraisers, FFA week is part of current technical education month. They have officer meetings. They have competitions that they go to. Those things are part of his FFA advisor programming.
Mm-hmm.
This supervised agricultural experience is above and beyond. That's not necessarily part of what he's doing from September to June. These
Right.
are all things that basically happen outside of the school year, predominantly in the summer, whereas that's when he can get to. Some students I am breeding these animals to present, for show animals, and here's the characteristics and traits. Now, some of that comes out of his classes when they talk about genetics and breeding and things that he has in a class, but these are now practiced things. He's putting that classroom instruction to practical applications.
Yeah.
Students have, growth plots. Students have animal herds. Students are doing all sorts of things. I think Carson Kroll was like golf course maintenance, which is something that he, had a serious interest in. That was part of his certified, agricultural experience outside the school year. It's not something that he could do between September and May.
Right, right. And he's getting additional instruction to help do that. And then that you said that the amount of that contract is covered by even one full FTE.
Correct.
Student hours. And he logs the equivalent of basically 2 FTE student hours per
Pretty
summer.
close to 2 full FTEs.
Okay, great. That helps a lot,
Great amount of paper.
I'm sure.
Revise, redo, revise, redo, revise.
You mean the SAE applications? Yeah. Oh, I know it's a big deal. Okay. And I know it's a lot of time spent by Mr. Robinson. I know he helps those kids a ton, for sure. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm still learning about all of how that works. Okay, I think we have a motion in a second. Okay. Go ahead and we'll call the question.
Eisner,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Harris,
Sorry. Yep. Yes.
Yes. Okay, next I'll take a motion to approve the additive contracts.
So my,
You want to just, yeah, you want to,
my understanding is we don't generally. Well, that. Are we approving the additive contracts as they're written, or are we approving an increase to the additive contracts?
As they're in,
Okay,
based on the salary structure. CPI steps, lanes, the increase to the additive contracts is step 5, I believe, out of 7.
extra duty.
Yeah, the extra duties. So that would be your coaches, your program
Advisors.
advisors.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, finances have not been there. We have not been able to pay for increases in any of those the last 2 years, and won't have that money moving forward.
So the percentage for each additive contract is not changing, and the amount of base salary that's applied to is not changing.
Yeah, the percents don't ever change. It's that base number, and that base number has not changed and would not be able to change moving forward for next year.
But we added, how many additive contracts this year? 1? 2?
Two.
Media, Pointer Media, and what was it called? Event
We did
coordination.
4.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the third one?
school track.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Coaching middle school track. Boys and girls coaches.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And we didn't get a motion or second yet, did we?
did not.
We did
Okay.
not. I'll make a motion to approve the additive contracts.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Johnson Bush.
that on.
Mr. Harris, any comments or questions?
No comment.
Okay. Call the question.
Johnston,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Eisner,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes. Okay, next I'll take a motion to approve the support staff wage schedule. The CPI would apply to them as well, correct?
Correct.
And there's no steps for support staff, is that correct?
Typically there is a 50-cent hour step. It caps out after someone's been in the district for 6 years.
Is that based on performance review or
Yes.
longevity?
Both.
Okay,
Each support staff member is evaluated during the course of the year.
Aaron, I'll move.
I'll second.
so do those steps apply because it was already voted on?
That's my recommendation moving forward, that the step and the CPI increase go with the support staff as well.
Okay, so are you making a motion for CPI plus the built-in 50-cent a year raise step for the
Correct.
coming year? Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so you know what, I stand by my second because I think if it sends a very strange message to our support staff if we do steps for our teaching staff. And while I wasn't in favor of doing those steps, I don't think we can not treat our employees the same.
Heiser seconds the motion. Okay,
Sorry, that was more than you probably needed.
that's okay, but I agree with your logic. So I am going to support it for that reason. Any other comments, questions? Okay, Angie?
Harris,
Yes.
Eisner,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Bush.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes. Next is substitute teacher rate. No change from last year.
That's my recommendation. We are competitive with surrounding schools. I recommend we maintain the current compensation.
I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second.
Bush Johnston. Any comments or questions? Was it a bumper crop year for subs?
We have great employees,
Okay,
and it has been a bumper crop.
so good usage. Hmm. Okay,
It's not going.
all right, you can go ahead and call the question.
Bush,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, next is a vote on the health insurance. I think the recommendation out of committee was to keep the premium contributions the same, including requesting an employee paid premium to enroll in the point of service insurance plan, if I phrase that right.
You recommended maintaining 88% of the HMO premium. And the employee would pick up the difference between that number and what it is for the point of service insurance plan.
Take a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Bruce Eisner. Any comments or questions? Mr. Harris?
Comment.
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Eisner.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes. Okay, that's the end of action items. Go to board business. Can we talk through the annual work calendar? We were going to try to time out the best months to get reports from building principals that would coincide with their access to their test results.
August, October, February, and June.
Okay.
And you might get, like, the report card might come in a different month. You know, it's typically December is when we'd have the conversation around the report card, but a lot of the academic data numbers would be reported out, goals like in August, then October after our initial testing window, February after our mid-year, then June would be end of year test data.
And that represents what's best for all three buildings within the district?
Yes, I made them answer that survey question. What works in their schedules with their testing schedules and so on, assessment data and those kinds of things. So yeah, they're the ones that reported that back to me.
Okay.
Is our intent then, unless there's something we want to hear from them, that is when they're going to report to us?
Correct. And then I think,
So outside of that, we would need to request with some notice
yes.
any
Or,
building report on some topic.
right. So I think, I mean, it's not like we don't want to hear from the principals outside of that, but if they want to talk about something that's been happening that they're excited about, and they want to do it at a board meeting versus just emailing the board, or if they want to share it through Mr. Wainwright and have him put it on info agenda or
Okay.
whatever. I think we want to keep the lines of communication open, and I think they have a clear understanding that the board wants to hear what's going well, what's not going well, and what do they need, right? And how are they tracking things? So I think if we just continue to reinforce that theme and hopefully we'll be getting the information we need in a timely manner.
It would be good, and maybe just potentially through Mitch's update, but I enjoy like hearing about the wins, like asking them to come in and let us know everything's going great. This is going great. But like the events, hearing about the Sources Day, the career day, like, and not necessarily have to present here, but maybe just send a summary to Mitch to include in the update each week. Things that have happened that are exciting that may not show up on the SMORE, which is also filled with incredible events every week, but just anything that may not also be to the depth of knowledge that you want us to have about the event, I guess, I think would be awesome.
What about reports from your team, Angie?
I think we had decided we were gonna try and do the pupil service SEL updates in November and April.
Okay.
It was November when we came this time. I don't remember the spring one for sure, but I think it was April.
Okay. Well, this is the April meeting, is it not?
She did.
Well, just wanted to be
Good.
clear. Sorry.
Right,
And
it's
they-
April.
They came in February, right?
Is there spring data, IRBS data that we're waiting for?
Well, that's the YRBS middle school has still not been released. I think, and maybe it was May. We had hoped to come up with like, eventually our goal will be to do, just like we do academic testing multiple times a year, we would be doing screenings multiple times a year to do that. So if we're not here in April, maybe it was May. But we intend to come twice a year, kind of in November after we administer those fall screenings. And have the plan of how we're moving forward, and then kind of an end of year summary.
Okay.
Next month.
Well, I mean,
You'll have numbers for. Do that now.
4K isn't
Or
rolling
4K,
down, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we will do SEL. So yeah, let's do November and May. We'll do SEL updates.
okay.
That's a nice 6-month interval.
There you go. That was why I picked it.
May's a big meeting, but there's no use putting you on a month where you're not ready. You know, you don't have what you need.
Yeah.
So May it is. Okay. So then we have, did we want to fill the other months with other types of reports? For example, December, I've got maybe a report from maybe Mrs. Brunson about CAP classes and college credit classes and things that have been enrolled in. I have a note for that. Is that?
I don't think December is the right time
That
to
doesn't
do
make
that one.
sense.
Typically, that is you start that meeting earlier due to a winter holiday concert performance.
Right.
It's also the opportunity, it's your first opportunity to discuss the state report card data. So I don't know that you want to increase the number of items on that December agenda.
That's fine.
That could maybe fall into May as well, since she'll be here
Yeah.
for SEL, because they would have had to turn in submissions for next fall, and then she would be able to summarize how many were given in the current year, plus what the projected applications were submitted for the
I
fall,
would say that
because
probably
those were due around the end of March, I think they were due.
Yeah.
To Southwest, so like Southwest Tech to the colleges, the applications were due. So like if we added that to the May one as well, she could give a summary for the year, how many students took them for the year, plus what's projected for next year.
Well, if May's already a big meeting month though, would
Yeah.
we do
Great
April and
snacks.
June?
You have to make.
Uh,
Exactly.
organizational.
Yeah, we've
So
cut
that's-
that down by about 45 minutes.
Officers, delegates,
That was last year. This year. we're gonna
um, the board meeting dates. That's a big budget meeting. And then we
Will it
would,
still be a big budget meeting if you had your committee meetings and?
good question. Not necessarily. I have a note here to approve the annual board work plan like we're doing now, to do that in future years in the May meeting.
As part of
As
organizational.
part of organizational, yeah. I also have some comment about the school nutrition program, meal prices.
Or we have to approve the.
We approve meal prices for that year with any kind of increases,
we
right?
have to approve schedule.
Fee schedule for meals.
Oh, yeah.
Are we able to do that with?
We need to, yeah, we need to schedule, including.
It's a big.
Well, I'm flexible. June,
It is a lot of stuff.
June does have a feel of end of year debriefing, how we do. Kind of end of year report kind of thing, but, what did I do? I added the SEL updates to May. What do you guys think? You want to hear from Mrs. Brunson and all the like college credit cap courses stuff? End of year
I do
in
think
May?
I'd like to hear that well, I was gonna be happy with June, because I do think it's a, like, look back, how did the year go?
Okay. Let's do that.
And does she have to come 2 months in a row, though?
I guess technically, unless she wants to hand that off to.
Aaron, is there
Yeah.
any other voting items tonight?
No. You have to sign off?
Do you need me for quorum, or is 4 enough?
No, we're not going to take any further action. We're just finalizing the board calendar unless you want to have any final comments before you sign off.
Do they close at 8?
No, but I'm a half hour away from our Airbnb, and I've got a 8-hour drive tomorrow back home, so I just need to head home.
That's fine.
Cool.
Thanks for joining remotely. We could hear you and see you pretty well, so that was good.
Next time I book an Airbnb, I'll make sure it has Wi-Fi.
All right, safe travels back.
Thanks. See you guys
Yeah.
soon.
Okay. Yeah, so I kind of feel like June can be like end of year.
Eclipse. That was the
review.
eclipse.
That's a deficit on the power bill.
We'll sign us all off.
Yes.
You guys
what
throw a
else?
lot of words around ghost deficit.
Other reports that I think we are thinking about wanting was maybe a report from Joelle, like,
I would love to hear from Joelle. She is doing so much.
right,
Yes, let's
Okay.
get her in here.
okay.
Once a year or twice a year?
Does she like have like an annual plan? I mean, I would assume that she doesn't just wing it, right?
I would assume not.
Right.
That's correct. She does not.
She's not a winger. So is there some kind of like annual plan that she creates?
Well, I see certainly tracks like the amount of the level of connection that we have, through
Facebook
alumni,
likes
Facebook,
and,
all those
Yeah.
kinds of things. That she can
Instagram,
certainly
Twitter.
report out on some of those analytics.
Website hits probably or searches or something like
She
that.
does that report. She'll produce that at the end of at the end of the calendar year. So maybe we have anything in June.
No, we
How
don't.
close our January meeting? That would be a great. Okay.
For state ed convention.
Oh,
Yeah, we
right
could-
before, she's usually preparing for state ed convention though, isn't she?
She's always prepared.
She's always
Yeah.
prepared.
She's been proud of me that right now they're already looking for proposals for next year. And
I saw
I said,
that.
I'm sure I'll open up my calendar and find something for us to present. But all joking aside, no, I mean,
Okay, so we'll do a Joel annual communications report in January. Should we try that?
Yeah, and I don't want to just hear about the numbers, like our Facebook likes and all that kind of stuff. Like, I want some like narrative behind.
Yeah, I'd say both,
Yeah,
both and.
both. Yes, okay, great.
You want to just run that by Joelle, and if she feels like wants a different month, then just let me know.
I can certainly ask.
Can I have anything but May
Or December.
or December?
As big as I have feared. Okay. We want to hear from.
Was it last month? Weren't we in and out in like,
We were done in 2 hours and 59 minutes last month.
oh yeah, that was not fast.
Yeah, it was not fast.
Faster than your standard meetings.
Yes.
There was one that we got out under an hour.
What about
Where Will and I not?
athletic department? Did we want to hear from the athletic director?
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, I would.
I just had a note.
I would very much like to, because
Yeah.
I think that, I think that it would be good for us to have a forum to just have some questions. For example, I had a question several months ago and brought it to Mitch and we've been through it, but about like how screening people who are volunteering to support our athletic teams, like not necessarily the paid assistant coaches, but like the folks who come in and say, hey, I played that sport when I was in high school. Can I come in and, help you work on something? And I think we do need to just have an opportunity to have that interaction once a year.
I also think that the position, yes, and the position's changed from what it has, from what it was for quite a while, as far as like time and, it's not with the assistant principal of the middle school anymore. I want to see how all that's going.
July.
July or August would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Put that in August.
So let's do August.
August.
August sounds great.
August does sound great because we're kicking off some sports seasons. Things
Yeah.
are going to be exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's and it's a position of leadership within our administration, right?
Mhm.
So,
They are making some changes with parent meetings and stuff like that, so it'd be good to just have knowledge on those changes.
even to hear about like how the e-ticketing is going, if that's taken off.
Another note I had was the options program. We want to hear from Ms. Heiser about how options is going.
Yes, we do.
100%.
100%. Okay. Mitch, in your opinion, that probably doesn't need to be a certain time necessarily?
I don't think so. I think if there was a month, that seems a little bit
Light?
light.
What does September look like?
What about having a meeting there? They love
Yes.
when you go there.
That would be great. I love that
They'll feed
space.
you, They'll get you.
Oh, okay.
during
September,
the evening?
September looks pretty good. It's really
It's
just
going in
kind
the
of-
minutes. So now they provide snacks.
September?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting all, like, we're running this by all of these people, right? To just say, hey, we'd like you to come here. And this month works for you.
I kind of thought it'd be great to just surprise everybody. Hey, we're here.
Have the whole school board walk into options one evening or whatever.
No, we would certainly run this by everybody. August makes sense for the athletic director. I mean, yes, it's kind of after the fact of what was last year's wrap up, but to your point, we've got the fall sports getting ready to kick off. There should have been some coaches meetings and parent meetings and things for the new school year. So I think that makes great sense and the timing works out well. September, yes,
they can certainly give you a kind of a wrap up of, last year we had X number of students, this year we already have this number of students enrolled and programming is working out in such a way. So some of the, those months seem to make good sense for some of these report outs, but yes, I'll run this by all of these individuals before we can cement it into the board work calendar.
That's all I had.
Should identify a date to have the staff committee meet us for year end.
Okay.
Mitch and I talked and he asked if we would like their input on the budget. And I said, asking the staff if they wanted full CPIs and like a ineffective use of their time, because of course they'll take whatever we can get.
Right.
But I think maybe just year-end feedback, and coming up with some sort of not open-ended, but I think, and we talked to them about potentially while we were putting the budget together, and maybe some of their input would be on other pieces of the budget that didn't include their pay.
And that'd be a special meeting.
Yeah.
Correct. All right.
Is that too soon to include the end of this year?
It would be like a committee meeting.
It would be like a committee meeting? Or
Yeah, you have to post it because a quorum would be here, but you didn't take any action the last time.
Right.
There was no formal board action, so you wouldn't post it as a board meeting.
When we
So
met
we're
with the
meeting
staff.
We're meeting with like an ad hoc.
You're talking about the staff reps that you met when
Yeah.
Dr. Nutter was here
Yeah.
that first time. Yeah, that was not a board meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
How would you post that?
I think I posted it as a staff, board staff.
And like a notice of quorum
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
notice of quorum and no board action would be taking place, so it isn't a true board meeting.
You want to do it after the oath on the 22nd?
I don't know how much wanted to schedule it. We just need to have. Yeah, we just need to have it open so we can.
Is it possible for, and I'll send it out to the other board members, is it possible for this group to be here by 5:30 on the 22nd?
I am not available at all on 22nd.
Okay.
I'm checking. What I've got on.
What were you gonna say?
If we would have this open forum is basically just a discussion and sharing out of the report to the board, anybody else that wants to show up. And then, so that could be from 5:30 to 6 o'clock on that evening. Official board meeting starts at 6. We swear in the new board members.
And then we meet with staff after that?
Then you would adjourn the meeting and then you could meet with the staff. Christy would not be here that night, but if everybody else could be here that night, you'd need Rachel and Justin to be here for sure.
Yeah, they've got to be here. Unless they do it ahead of time.
Right. So is it possible for
Sounds okay to
the
me.
three of you to be here at 5:30 that night?
I can on the 22nd.
Okay, and why don't we plan that? 5:30 on the 22nd. Is that enough time, Angie?
Half hours?
Yeah. So 6 o'clock. Swear in. 6:15 could be the staff meeting.
We want to have any kind of agenda for that meeting?
The staff.
I'm running out of brain power to come up with something.
I think you're gonna want to, because they're gonna want to know what are you gonna talk about or what's the topic, so I think you're gonna.
We could all reflect on it, I guess, and brainstorm via email.
Let's do that. Let's do
Brain
that.
cells are dwindling at this
Right.
point.
Sure.
Good. And then the regular May meeting. We kind of talked about it already in terms of tentative agenda. We do annual board business with officers, delegates, committee chairs. Go over the budget, approve meal prices,
First reading of policies.
first reading of policies. That's all I got.
Hopefully an RFP on our transportation.
So we will have an RFP on.
Okay.
In the RFP that we will approve it on May 3rd.
When do we officially take over the meal program? End of,
Basically end of June, yes.
okay.
Have we heard anything from Taher about our decision to go a different direction?
No.
Okay.
When do you want to report to the board on how that's gonna look for July 1? June meeting? Okay. Does that need to be digested in committee ahead of time, you think? Just think about it, whatever. Okay. All right. Is that everything?
Approval of a retirement.
Ah,
Not Mike. Judy Pelton has turned in a letter indicating that she'll be retiring at the end of this school year after 46 years of working in the district. I asked Judy, she came to me with a series of handbooks that she's been a part of, kind of contracts and whatnot, negotiation. I said, Judy, and help me remember the number, Angie. When you first started working in the district, what were you being paid on an hourly basis? And I want to say it was $1.55, something like that. And after a couple months, she got bumped up to $1.65. 46 years ago, $1.40 or $1.55 an hour.
some service for sure.
And if you remember, she was recognized by CISA as Sports Staff Employee of the Year. We surprised her with that recognition. Judy will be missed in the district. There's no doubt about it. She's touched a lot of lives and had a positive influence on a lot of students and adults in her time here.
Amen. Well, I'll take a motion to approve this retirement.
I'll make a motion to approve her retirement, and I hope she has a heck of a time during her retirement. She is well deserved.
Second.
46 years. Wow.
All right. Well, thanks, Judy. We'll go ahead and vote.
Austin,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Eisner,
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes. There's no closed session.
Correct. So your next meeting is Monday. Next official meeting will be Monday, April 22nd at 6 p.m. Again, there'll be an open forum at 5:30 on that evening. I'll push that out to the other board members. And then once an agenda is set, I will let staff, that staff rep group know you're looking at trying to hold a meeting on that evening, about 6:15-ish, and then an agenda will follow.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, 8:19.
Everyone online.